Hello friends, welcome to TriBecca Designs. My name is Rebecca and I love to sew. I love to upcycle. I love to design. I love to refashion. I love to make. Hey guys, I just love to create. Thank you for joining me today. So today's video is going to be all about how to construct welted pockets, frustration-free welted pockets. This video was actually inspired by a project that I am working on for a sewing challenge. The jacket for the project actually calls for welted pockets, but I was not very fond of the construction methods being used in that guide sheet. So I just decided to resort to a method that I use for creating welted pockets that I learned as a teenager. It's pretty streamlined. And I personally believe that after you view this video in its entirety, that you too will be able to pop welted pockets anywhere on any garment of your choosing, frustration free. So before we get into it, I do want to give you guys just a little disclaimer. My husband, who plays in a local jazz band, was rehearsing in the room next door while I was filming this video. So just in case you may hear a little bit of thumping and bumping in the background, it's just the hubs on his guitar. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, friends, so to start out, I have this beautiful aqua blue piece here that is going to be representative of the right side of our jacket front. There is a line drawn here that is 6 inches long, and it represents the pocket placement line. Your pattern will have a pocket placement line if you want to use that, or you can create one of your own depending on where you want your pocket to set on the front of your garment. So again, this is the right side, this will be the wrong side. Then I have my pocket pieces here. This darker blue is going to represent our welted pocket. I have 2 pieces that are currently cut in the same size, but one of them will be cut down. So to start out, I'm just going to take one piece as is. I'm going to place this piece to the side. And just so that you know, these pieces are measuring 10 inches across by 12 inches long. And that's just going to give us adequate space to put our hand in, minus the actual welt and seam allowance. Now this measurement that I have here is optional. This is not a standard measurement. It's just what I like to use for my pockets. You can go a little larger or a little smaller depending on how big or small you want your overall pocket to be. So again, 10 by 12 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in from the top of this 3 inches down, and I'm just going to place a mark here 3 inches from the top of my pocket. Okay, and then I am going to create my actual welt or stitching lines for my welt, and I'm going to do that. That's approximately the center here, so I want to draw a line here that sits 6 inches, matching the line that's on the front of my jacket. Okay, so I'm just gonna go, since I want it to be a total of 6 inches, I'm starting in the center here, 3, and then I'm just going to draw a line 6 inches across. Okay, yeah, that's good. I'm going to come down. I'm going to go 1.5 inches, or do I want to go 2 inches? I think I'm going to go 2 inches. I like a nice fat welt, or I like to call them the lips of the pocket. I like mine to be kind of thick. I'd say, depending on how thick you want yours, anywhere from 1 3/4 to 2 inches is what you would want to do. But do this on some scrap fabric first. Do a practice round before you actually do this on your garment. And then that way you'll be able to adjust it according to your personal preferences. So that's all I'm doing here, is I'm drawing a rectangle right at the center here of my pocket. that is 2 inches by 6 inches, okay? And I'm gonna draw this in some chalk in a minute so you can see the line better. I apologize, I don't think you can really see my line. Okay, so let me trace over the line that I have drawn so you can see it better. Again, 6 inches across. Next, I am going to draw a line down the center of my rectangle, and this is going to be my cutting line. So right now I've drawn a rectangle representing my stitch line. Now I'm going to cut that in half since it was 2 inches. Yes, I'm going to come in at 1 inch and draw a line. And I really want to make sure this line is nice and straight, because this is where I'm going to cut. Okay. And then I like to just kind of draw these lines where you're going to clip into your corners. Give you guys a little bit of a close-up here. So just watch out for symmetry. Try and make sure that there's going to be the same amount on both sides when you cut. You can see my drawn line here is not quite even, and you want to be careful when you actually go to cut that you make an adjustment if your line is uneven like mine. Just make sure it's even, otherwise you're going to have a fat lip on the bottom and a thin lip on the top. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go ahead and bring our jacket front back in. And now I am going to place this by sticking a pin here. You see what I did? Just at the end, I placed a pin, and I'm going to match that to the end of my pocket placement line that's on my jacket. And I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Using a pin at the very end here. I want that to go right at the end of my pocket placement line that's on the right side of my jacket front. Okay. Now this next step, excuse me, the next step is going to be optional depending upon the weight of your fabric. So yeah, just to make it nice and sturdy, I'm going to come in with a piece of fusible interfacing that is slightly larger than my drawn lines. Now I can see through here to where my lines are, and I'm going to pin this on and then redraw those lines so that you all can see them. So remember the lines, the stitching line that we drew was 6 by 2 inches. I actually just added an inch around. So this is like 7 by 3. This one is 6 by 2, the drawn lines. This piece of interfacing is 7 by 3. Just to give you an example, okay? Now we're gonna go ahead and just fuse that interfacing in place. And then trace over those stitching and cutting lines that we drew earlier. You can still see them. You probably won't have to actually trace over yours, but so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to trace over it. But you could actually go ahead and start stitching. Okay, friends, so here is a close-up of what we have so far. And pardon me if I failed to mention, this is the wrong side of the fabric, okay? Wrong side is where you're going to put your interfacing. And then if you flip it up like this will be the right side of the fabric for your pocket. And this is the right side of your fabric for the front of your jacket, okay? So right sides will go together. Let's go ahead and stitch out our rectangle, remembering to back tack in all 4 corners. Now my machine automatically back tacked for me. Back tack. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I hand crank my needle down exactly where I want. Lift up my presser foot, pivot my fabric, turn it, and then continue stitching. Back tack. Again, I'm hand cranking right on that line. Okay, actually I want to go back a little bit. That's a little too far over for me. There we go. Raise that presser foot, turn my work, and continue stitching. Go back a little. Okay, friends, there's our rectangle line stitched. If you look on the opposite side, I think it looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to turn our work back over, and now we're going to cut along our cutting line, remembering not to cut all the way here, but to cut into that corner. Okay, we can remove these pins now. So I'm going to use my rotary cutter to get the ball rolling here. Making sure I go right down the center. And then I'm going to take my scissors and finish the work. Clipping into that corner, making sure I go right up to the stitching line, but not clipping into the stitching line. This is going to go a lot faster once you've done it a few times, and it always takes longer when you're trying to record something. So I hope that you will get a lot of enjoyment out of this process once you become accustomed to it and see how easy it is, and that you will use it frequently. So now, what I like to do, I'm going to bring in my pressing mat again, just to get this going nice and smooth. I just kind of pull it up and start to press to get that edge nice and crisp. Okay. And I do that on all four corners. I'm preparing it to turn to the inside. Come here. Do the same thing. You guys, sewing is a craft. It is not something that, when done correctly, should be rushed. And people who don't sew should know that our work requires very skilled hands and knowledge of garment construction, and this is something to be respected. So if you're trying to learn how to do welted pockets, kudos to you, baby girl, baby boy, because hey, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. I love it. And you must love it too, to be watching me do this, to be wanting to learn how to do it. So enjoy the process. Don't let any of this frustrate you. Know that you are going to be satisfied with your work. Even if you have to try a few times, practice makes perfect. Okay, so after that pressing, I flip it over to the wrong side. And I just go ahead and bring my pocket lining through. Let me turn this so that you guys can see. Yes. Do, 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 do. Just work out those corners to make them nice. You see that? See how it kind of acts like here? Can you see that how it wants to bunch up? It's no worries. If you made nice crisp cuts into those corners, you can press that out, okay? I find that for me, my iron is a molder. It's a shaper. You can press the shape into your garments. You just have to be precise how you position everything. You see how that's coming together now? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna press that rectangle so that it's nice and crisp. We'll do all this pressing. Okay, friends, this is the part that I really want you all to take your time with, okay? Make sure that you press on the right side, that you really focus on getting your rectangle as neat as possible. So all we've done thus far is created a window. It's a window of opportunity. This is how the wrong side looks. So I started pressing on my wrong side, but I didn't focus on those corners on the wrong side nearly as much as I did on the right side, because these are the ones that you want to look really, really crisp. Try to do it on both sides if possible. So now we're gonna go back to the wrong side. I'm gonna flip this up. And you see this that we cut? We're gonna use that as our guide. All you're gonna do is flip your fabric over that. Make it nice and snug. Make it right along that edge, okay? And then you're gonna flip it over and look at it. Well, you could pin it, maybe. Maybe you don't need to pin it, but just turn it over and look at it. And you can see the bottom lip forming. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, darling, sewing is a journey. We are going somewhere here. So we're gonna do the same on both sides. Press that in on both sides. Just touch it lightly and then look at it and make adjustments if you need to. Okay, friends, this is how things should be progressing after you've done your pressing. Making sure that you don't leave a gap here where the two lips meet. Check both the wrong side and the right side. Making sure that they're closed. They can even slightly overlap. It's better than having any kind of gap, okay? And so once you've done that, I like to turn this up and then stitch right along that same line to put that in place. So go to the machine and just go ahead and stitch on that same line. And then I'm going to trim out this part here. I'm going to cut it after I stitch over it. So let's pretend that I've already stitched, and I'm just going to trim that corner off like that. So now you can see that that's just going to be about right for the size of your hand. Flip it over. Just make sure your hand goes through there really nice. Yeah, so for, I guess my hands may be average size, I don't know, but a 6-inch slit is plenty of room for my hands. And then this is where I bring in my other piece of fabric, and it was the larger portion before I cut it. And then I just went ahead and cut it down to match the new size. Okay, friends, so now as you can see, I've serged completely closing up all 4 sides of the pocket lining. I didn't bother changing the thread on my serger because this is just for demonstration purposes, but yours will look a lot neater when you use the right color thread. And make sure your line is straight, which I didn't do here. I just stitched it up really quickly, but that's pretty much how I do it. And as you can see here, then you have this beautiful pocket. And you could even use a contrasting color if you want a different lining on the inside. But that's a really nice pocket, and it's very secure. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and let me know what you think of this technique. Is this a technique that you have used before? Do you think it will be relatively easy in comparison to some of the techniques that you maybe have already used for welted pockets? And also be sure to come back to check out the reveal of this beautiful jacket that I'm making that inspired this tutorial. So yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.